morning, folks. Good morning, good morning. And I love the prophetic revelation that the staff office being a ball of wool completely, or I'm not sure what that says about us in the office, but I'm pretty confident it's right. It's good. The other thing is I loved hearing the different languages. Wasn't that great? So there was Ukrainian, there was German, there was Nigerian. What else did we have? It was Zimbabwean. Oh, my God. What you said. Yeah, that was great. In my head, I was going, is Norfolk a foreign out? You're all right, you are, God. Yeah. You know, that'd be it. As a Norfolk boy, I'm allowed to do that, by the way. Just like to flag that. If you don't know me, if you're new to us or just visiting or watching online for the first time, welcome. My name's Mark. I head up the team across all our three locations, all our three sites in Thetford, Long Stratton, and here in Wymondham. And today is our Vision Sunday across all three locations, actually. And at each location, we're kind of bringing something a little bit different, specifically and bespoke to that location. So as I'm kind of preaching, sometimes when we do this, we're doing a Vision Sunday and we're saying, hey, yeah, this is for all of the locations. This is us as one church across all of the places, right? But for sometimes it's like, hey, no, we need to know what's bespoke and unique to us and what God's got in store for us this year, over the next few months, what we have. And so as elders, as kind of like site team, we've been praying into that, looking into that and going, right, these are the things we need to kind of really get our heart into. So this is much more of a heart issue for Wymondham. It's slightly unusual. I'm not sure whether I like preaching it's not necessarily from the Word. We're going to look at the Bible, but you know what I mean. This is kind of some information in here. It's a little bit different this morning from that point of view. One thing I will say right at the start, for those of you who have kind of been praying into the building, you know we're trying to purchase this site. There is stuff happening. I'm not going to say much on it today other than there is stuff happening, and hopefully we can bring you some news soon. Keep praying. There has been quite a lot of movement, but we're not quite in a place to make that public yet, if that makes sense. So do keep praying into that, and we'll work out the best mechanism to communicate that. So that's where we're at today. So I want to kind of bring us back into what we're going on. And then, as we said at the end, we're going to have a prayer tunnel or a fire tunnel. If you've never heard of one of those, we basically get a line of two kind of lines in front of people, of leaders in the church and people on prayer ministry team and people who've done the what was School of Supernatural Life, but is now called Empower. And you guys get to walk through that, and we get to commission and pray for you all the way along. So it's not just Claire who gets to be prayed for this morning in that way, right? We get to do this for everyone because we know that as a church, we're really quite term-focused. We've got a lot of young people in the church. We've got about a third of our church is under 18. And so our church tends to be quite focused on term time. So if you're outside of the school environment, outside of terms, you're going, why are the roads so much busier right now? Right, that's because everyone's gone back to school. And so that's why all the teachers look like this. Right, they're all, no, you're fine, I know, you're good, you're right, you've been looking forward to it, I know. So we kind of gear up towards term times quite a lot, and that helps us in terms of creating a pattern throughout the kind of church life as well, so that's quite beneficial. But I know at the start of the year when we kind of gather together, when we're all going for it, and we're all like, right, September, there should be another month in between August and September, right? But there isn't. In September, we're like, here we go. This is it. We're getting into the pattern of life again, and we want to impart an input into something of our mission into that thing. Now, in terms of the mission that we have, our mission as a church has not changed for quite some time now. We are here to be disciples who make disciples, right? That is our mission. That is why we exist as a church, because when we make disciples, Jesus gets glorified. Okay, so that's how that works. That's how this happens. So we're here to be disciples who make disciples. Jesus gave us a very simple instruction in Matthew 28:19. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. We're here to be men and women who make disciples. Every one of us. That is why we exist as a body, why we exist as individuals. We're here to bring the good news of the kingdom of God to those who don't know him yet. And for absolute clarity, when we're talking about making disciples that make disciples, we are talking about seeing people who don't know Jesus know Jesus. I want to make that absolutely clear, because sometimes we can get caught up in a kind of, well, you know, I'm being a great mum or dad. Yeah, be a great mum or dad. That's fantastic. Well done you. You're making little disciples. It's great. It's fantastic. Or we can think, oh, I need to replicate the gifts that I have. You know, people who are worship leaders. Well, I'm going to make more worship leaders. Yeah, that's brilliant. Well done. Fantastic. But this It's actually about people who don't know Jesus yet coming to know Jesus. We want to be disciples who make disciples. And one of the helpful things that we talk about quite a lot within kind of our life group structure or within our office or with kind of people who are doing things is that we talk about the discipleship circle. So when we see the discipleship circle, this is based on some work that David Watson did. Many of you will know his name from quite a long time ago because discipleship is not a new deal. And Bill Hull, is that there's 4 kind of stages to a disciple's journey to maturity, if you like. The first one is the come and see. So when Jesus first started, we see this in John 1:39, there was his disciples or people sort of around Jesus said, come and see Jesus. Come and see this guy. So this is people who don't know him at all. Just come and have a look at him. Come and see him. Come and just get a taste of him. See what he's like. Come and see this Jesus, right? It's an invitation into just encountering Jesus. Then there's the moment where it's the come and follow. Jesus says to his disciples, come and follow me. Not come and follow them over there. Come and follow me. It's a personal invitation from John 21:19. Come and follow me. That's the point where people become Christians in our head as we might know it. They might say a prayer or say, you know what, I want to follow Jesus. There's that invitation from Jesus to say, come and follow me. Then, as we've kind of made that decision, if we've started to pray and we've started to read our Bible, maybe there is a moment where we start to become more and more like Jesus. We start to imitate him, both in character and in what he did. So some of the fruits of the Spirit start to flow out of us, love and joy and peace and all of these things. We start to imitate who Jesus is. And then we start to do what Jesus did. We start to pray for the sick and they get healed because that's what Jesus did. And we get to send demons packing because that's what Jesus did. And Jesus said, you will do greater works than me. And so we imitate him in that point. And then we get to this last one, which is the replicate. And that's where we reproduce ourselves. You know, a healthy body reproduces itself. So we get to this point where we replicate ourselves. And we start to get involved in helping others come and see. Now, the problem we have, and this is a Western problem. So if you're not from the West, this might not apply to you. But certainly in the West, we have a problem in that most of our people, when we first started looking at this, we did a little bit of a survey. And we said to folk around, we said, right, where would you see yourself in this? Whereabouts would you be? If you had to pick a point in this journey, where would you be? And the majority of people that we spoke to were somewhere in the kind of follow or imitate place. And that included a lot of church leaders. Okay? Which weren't replicating, we weren't reproducing, we weren't seeing people coming to know Jesus. And so we look at this and we go, okay, if most of us are stuck in the follow, imitate people, you know, people just holding on going, I just want to be more like Jesus because I don't want to lose my temper as I drive to work today. If that's our standard, then we've missed it. We've missed it. We want to all be people who are healthy, replicating, and we want to help people move into that kind of deal, going, right, if I'm truly imitating Jesus, then I'm going to be invitational, I'm going to be like him from that point of view. And today I really want to focus on that word, invitational. Because the first 2 parts of that cycle, come and see, come and follow, are invitations. Right? Come and see Jesus. Come and follow Jesus. For most of us sitting here today, we would not be sitting here if somebody had not asked us to come and see Jesus or to come and follow Jesus. The invite is crucial in seeing people come to know him, in terms of replicating ourselves if we truly want to imitate Jesus. And let's face it, God is an invitational God, right? God's invitational, isn't he? He doesn't force us into his kingdom. He doesn't make us follow him. He invites us. He invites us into his kingdom to come and see him, to come and follow him, to come and be like him, and to replicate him. So if we are truly imitating Jesus, we'll be invitational. Are you all with me on this? General, okay, maybe a few people are. I'm getting some nods. That's good. One day I'm going to preach in like a big Pentecostal church, and the response is going to I don't know what to do. You know, he compels us, but he doesn't force us. And everyone loves an invite, right? Everyone loves an invite. If you get invited to a birthday party, everyone loves that. You get invited to a wedding, that's usually you're like, yes, I've got to buy a gift, right? You know, it's good. It's like, yeah, I want to go along, I want to celebrate. Even if somebody invites you, hey, do you want to come out for a beer tonight? You're like, yeah, that's good. Or coffee and cake or whatever's your deal, I don't know. But when we get an invitation, it makes you feel nice and warm and fuzzy inside. Right? We love an invitation. Now, as a church, we try to make this as easy as possible. If I say 1, 2, 3 more to people in here, can you put your hand up if you know what that means? Yes. Okay. I'm aware there are some people who haven't got a clue in the room going, what are you doing? You've just counted and people have put their hand up. So 1, 2, 3 more is a strategy that we came up, which is an invitational-based strategy. We nicked it from another church, so, you know, we weren't all clever and came up with it ourselves. But the idea is this, is that you have a series of events, community-based events, that lead up increasingly in Christian content to the point where people get invited along on a Sunday morning. Okay, so number 1 is a family fun day. This is in kind of June time. Number 2 is kind of a family-orientated event in autumn. So that was number 2. Number 3 is then the Christmas carols. And then number 4 is January. Come along to church in January. New start, new you, etc. Blah, 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 right? So that's the whole deal. And we ran this in 24 to 25. So we started in 2024 with our first family fun day that we'd done for ages. And we got 500 odd people came along. It was absolutely brilliant. Sorry, 400 people came along. I won't exaggerate, the evangelist in me. Then we had a rodeo, and 250 people came along in the autumn, which was brilliant. That was autumn 2024. The Christmas carols, we saw over 500 people come along. And then in the January, we saw a bucket load of visitors. We didn't count them because we're stupid, but there were lots of visitors. And about 10 people came along. And there are people sitting here today because of that. What was brilliant is that we went into this invitational structure, and some of you just started inviting people along on Sunday mornings anyway. It was great. I love it. There's folk here who just, Emily, sing there. Hi, I'll pick on you. Emma's here because she was like, it just got invited along to a life group and just started, and they started coming along, and they started coming along on Sunday. And then at the rodeo, there we are doing the rodeo, and at the end, there's straw everywhere because somebody decided to have straw bales in here. And they, Sam, and they don't, and they, and they're looking at them, they're picking bits of hay off the floor, and they don't even know Jesus yet, right? Because they just got invited into something. Sorry to pick on you guys, but you're in the front row. I could have picked on others, but I won't. And it's just beautiful when people get in. So I love this invitational heart is getting caught up in the whole deal. And when we're invitational, we're being like Jesus. Now, I don't know if you've picked this up or not, but we've started the 1, 2, 3 more thing already again. Has anybody realized this? You're like, hang on a minute, this sounds familiar. So we had a summer fun day. You weren't imagining it before the holidays. And we had over 500 people here. And it's just fantastic. The kind of the vibe in the room was brilliant. There was loads of people coming through here. People are inviting their friends. Absolutely fantastic. So we've done this strategy already. So we're going into this again. I'm aware some people weren't quite caught up with that, and maybe you didn't get a chance to invite your friends to that one. But don't worry. We've got the autumn experience coming up on the 8th of November. There's going to be so much fun. We're going to have some fireworks. I know. We've already bought them. We're quite scared, but it's going to be good. I've signed the insurance forms and everything. We're going to have apple bobbing. We're going to have lots of fun autumn things going up. There's going to be some publicity coming out on that soon. The team have been working really hard. It's absolutely fantastic. I love it. Then the Christmas carols, they're set for the 21st of December. That was so popular last year. And I don't know if that was an outstanding event. But what it enabled people to do is if they've been here for the family fun day and they've been here for the autumn experience, to come along for the carols isn't that kind of scary. And inviting somebody along to a family fun day or an autumn experience, I know is easier than inviting people cold. Why won't you come along for a Sunday morning? Please do invite people along on a Sunday morning. But you know what I mean? We're creating a pathway here to make it as easy as possible to be invitational. And then the more Sunday mornings in January, whereas that's the big step. It's the one where you go, hey, why don't you try out coming along on a Sunday morning? And I can say it from the front, and we can send people emails, but the deal is this. The invite needs to come from you. It has to come from you, from the people that you've met, from the people that you know. I can invite people until I'm blue from the face with regards to a microphone at the front. But when it comes as a personal invitation, because we're British, we don't like to say no. If it's generic from the front, happy to say no. If it's through social media, which I love and is really important, people will say no. But when it's in person, hey, why don't you come along to this? You know, the fireworks, the autumn experience, we've got a charge to that because fireworks are expensive, hey. But why don't you buy the tickets for friends and say, hey, I've bought you a ticket, why don't you come along? This is how we get people into the kingdom. It is so simple. Now, to help us in this, I just want to look at how we do on time. Okay. To help us in this, I just want to look at the Bible really quickly. So in Matthew 22, let's open our Bibles if you've got them. In Matthew 22, we have a whole thing that Jesus talks about how the kingdom is. He describes the kingdom of God. If you don't know Jesus, he's a king, and he has a rule and reign. And he describes his kingdom like this. He says, verse 2, the kingdom of heaven... This is Matthew 22, verse 2. The kingdom of heaven is like a king who prepared a wedding banquet for his son. He sent his servants to those who had been invited to the banquet to tell them to come, but they refused to come. Then he sent some more servants and said, tell those who have been invited that I have prepared my dinner. My oxen and fattened cattle have been butchered, and everything is ready. Come to the wedding banquet. But they paid no attention and went off, one to his field, another to his business. The rest seized his servants, mistreated them, and killed them. The king was enraged, and he sent his army and destroyed those murderers and burned their city. Then he said to his servants, the wedding banquet is ready, but those I invited did not deserve to come. Go to the street corners and invite to the banquet anyone you find. So the servants went out into the streets and gathered all the people they could find, both good and bad, and the wedding hall was filled with guests. But when the king came to see the guests, he noticed a man there who was not wearing wedding clothes. Friend, he asked, how did you get in here without wedding clothes? And the man was speechless. And then the king told the attendants, tie him hand and foot, and throw him outside in the darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. For many are invited, but few are chosen. I hope you picked up the weight to that passage. Let me just say three quick points. The first point is this, is that it's up to us to invite. I don't know why God chose to use us, why he chose to use me. I wouldn't. I'd send angels, right? But he doesn't. He chooses you and I to be instruments in inviting people into the kingdom of God. Said Matthew 22, verse 2, the kingdom of heaven is like a king who prepared a wedding banquet for his son. He sent his servants to those who had been invited to the banquet to tell them to come. Jesus' kingdom here, just for absolute clarity, the king here is describing God. The son here is describing Jesus. The banquet here is talking about the wedding supper that we see in Revelation 19. It's talking about something significant, the end times, the moment where Jesus returns and there's going to be a party like no other. And so when it says he's sending servants out, he's sending you and I. The word here, servants, is bond servants. It talks about a connection with the master, which is a voluntary connection of, I love my master so much, I want to serve him for the rest of my life. That is what a bond servant is. It's described in Exodus. And so we hear about this kind of deal. We're here to serve our king, right? And I know we talk a lot in this place about being sons and daughters of the living king, which is bang on right. Absolutely. Our identity is as sons and daughters, but our actions are those who have obedience to the king, and so we do his will wherever we are. We're his servants. And he says, go and invite people. We're sent with his authority to invite people into the great big party that's going to go on at the end times. We're telling, hey, go along and do this. And we represent the master as we do this. And we go into this. So when we look at that discipleship circle, come and see, come and follow, we're just being obedient to Jesus. They reckon one of the biggest problems with Western Christians is that we are knowledge-based. We love knowledge so much, and we think that Christianity is all about learning more. In the rest of the world, where Christianity is exploding and growing at a rate that we can't keep up with, it's all about obedience. It's all about doing what Jesus tells us to do. And so we need to get that in our hearts. We need to be obedient to the instructions that God gives us and just do the ones that we know rather than thinking we've got to learn more before we start doing. So let's get into this. Let's get into that side of things. It's interesting. The Evangelical Alliance, which we're part of, they did a survey and a report on why people are starting to come to church again. And they put up a load of things in this report. It's quite interesting, but one of the things is this. And it says, which of these helped you as you explored the Christian faith? So people are exploring the Christian faith. They're thinking about the Christian faith. That's the kind of bottom line of this report. But this is what they said. And they said these are the things that help the most. Number one, the thing that helps the most in terms of people exploring faith, going to church. Coming along on a Sunday morning like this. That is the number one thing that helps people as they explore the Christian faith. Okay. Number two, reading the Bible. I love this story. There's folk amongst us who've started to come to know Jesus because they just said, well, I'm going to start reading the Bible. And started at Genesis. And I'm like, well done. You might want to go to maybe Matthew or Mark or Luke or John at some point. But no, they started and they're just reading all the way through. And you're like, wow, that's amazing. Reading the Bible works, folks. Attending a course or being part of a small group, we're back to that one. Spiritual experience. Just so you know, these don't add up to 100%. If you're bright, you've worked this out, right? Anyway, hang on a minute. People are allowed to answer more than one, right? They just ticked a load of things. So that's why the percentage. It took me a while to work that out. I had to read like the little notes and everything. And it goes down. A conversation with a specific Christian friend is like almost double a conversation with a church leader. You're going, why are we paying this guy again? Right, right. I can't emphasize it enough that you guys, when you just speak about what you know and who you know and invite people into that, it makes a difference. Be confident. Be confident in this. You know enough already. Now you just need to be obedient to what you know. Second point, it is serious and it is urgent. Verse 4 of Matthew 22. Then he sent some servants and said, tell those who have been invited that I've prepared my dinner. My oxen and fattened cattle have been butchered and everything is ready. I don't know how it works in your house. We eat together every night, or we try to, with a family of 5 who are doing things all over the place. That's always quite fun, but we try to. And one of the things we used to have a dinner bell, and we'd ring the dinner bell and ding, and it was like Pavlov's dogs. Everybody would come running down. It was dinner time. It was great. Now they kind of just sit in the bedroom still on their phones. I'm going to look away from my son and look over here. And it's kind of, I have to go and get them, and that's fine. But one of the things I remember as a kid is we would have my granddad over for like Christmas and Easter. It was a regular thing. His wife had died when a number of years before, and so he'd come over for Christmas. And for whatever reason, as soon as my mum put dinner on the table, it didn't matter whether it was breakfast, whether it was like Christmas lunch, whether it was tea, whatever, it didn't matter. As soon as she said dinner's on the table, he immediately went to the toilet. I don't know if that's an age thing, guys. Maybe you can help me. I don't know. There's a few people going. But it was like, this is weird. I used to frustrate my mum so much. It was like so annoyed her. And you're like, well, no. Look, if dinner's ready, you don't go over there and do something else. You come to the table, right? It's hot. It's on the table. It's ready. Dinner's ready. This is what this passage is saying. This is what God is saying. I know we can think in our minds. Mark, you said it's the wedding banquet at the end of times. We've got some time, right? Jesus, he's coming back at some point. He could come back now. Okay, he hasn't. Bonus. I'll carry on speaking. But right, at any moment, he could return. There is an urgency to this. It is no good waiting until next year to invite your friends and family. Right? There is an urgency to this. The dinner is ready. God has prepared it. The kingdom is ready. This is a serious deal. In the American, I went to America for holiday, and so, I've picked up some stuff. When I was over there, they love their country. The Americans, they love their nation. Yeah, right? Really love it. And the weight they put on the founding fathers is significant. It really is. And so they listened to them in terms of what they said. And this is what John Adams said to Thomas Jefferson at the time of the American Revolution, where we let America have its little bit of land. You and I, we live in serious times. He wrote to him, he said, hey, you and I live in serious times. If you've watched Hamilton, yes, that's what they actually look like. You and I live in serious times. They understood the weight, the political weight of what was going on at the time. Right? They understood it. I'm thinking about the hairstyle of John Adams. What do you think? No. I could pull that off. And there's sorry, I've missed my point of being in serious times, haven't I? So right, focus. Let's get back into this. We live in serious times. We live in serious times, folks. We're not messing around here. I know I make light of things and I make a joke. That's part of being British. We like to have fun at serious times, but let's let the weight of this get on here, because the seriousness is this, that there is a judgment coming. When we read in Matthew 22:7, the king was enraged and he sent his army and destroyed those murderers and burned the city, those who persecuted his servants. When we read in Matthew 22:13, the king told the attendants about the man who'd snuck in, tie him hand and foot and throw him outside into the darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. God is a God of judgment. And so we need to give people an opportunity to know Jesus before it's too late. This is serious. And more than that, when we get to that point of judgment, we'll have to give an account for our lives. Paul Helm said this. He said, the whole of a person's life is fundamentally serious, something which they are responsible before God, for which they will have to give an account. They are individually responsible to God for what they make of it. At the moment, there is something called the quiet revival going on. This is made not just Christian news, it's made national news. This is the Sunday Express. It was in July. They ran this headline. Global crisis sending Gen Z to church. Faith leaders hail spiritual U-turn among 16 to 24-year-olds. A Tear Fund report in April of this year said in 2018, just 4% of 18 to 24-year-olds said they attended church at least monthly. Today, this has risen to 16%, with young men increasing from 4% to 21%, and young women from 3% to 12%. Men, I know, amen, right? Men, 13%, are now more likely to attend church than women. As long as I've been alive, that has never been the case. There is something going on. It goes on and says, the church in England and Wales is becoming more ethnically diverse. Yeah. With 1 in 5 people coming from an ethnic minority, and close to half of young black people aged 18 to 34, 47%, are now attending church at least monthly. I don't know who watched England versus Andorra last night. It was pretty missable apart from one wonderful thing. Half the team knew Jesus. As it went along, I was like to my family, I was going, he's a Christian, 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 he's a Christian. And they're not like, pretend Christians. These are proper, I know Jesus and I want to tell him about people. There was a whole article on Mark Gay recently. His dad was a pastor, and it talked about his faith and about how he knew Jesus and how insignificant he was in his life. And they looked at how he behaved. If you don't know the transfer saga, there's been lots of really bad behaviour in the transfer football market recently. and they've looked and pointed to Mark Gahey and said, he has performed so admirably. It probably cost him a move to Liverpool from Crystal Palace, but his behaviour was so different to the others who don't know Jesus. The press recognise this. There is something going on. Now, what we need to recognise as these wonderful things happen, as people coming to know Jesus, is that we don't want them to be orphans. We want people to be discipled well. And so I bring you back to our discipleship circle. We need to go, hey, come on. We need to be persistent in this, and we need to keep telling people about Jesus, but we also need to take responsibility for this. So when we say come and see, come and follow, imitate, replicate, if you get someone along to church and they choose to follow Jesus and they say the prayer or come forward and you're like, yeah, job done, thank you very much, moving on. No, you've just started the job or you're continuing it. At that point, it's all about, hey, just read the Bible and pray with people. The significance of coming along on Sundays is really important, right? The significance of being in a small group is really important, but the thing that helps people the most is sitting down, reading the Bible and praying with them. One-on-one or one-on-two people. So just be up for this. I think just be willing to say, God, yeah, use me. You don't need to know much. I love being at university. When I became a Christian in 1998, it's a few years ago now, when I first became a Christian, my friend Nick Wamba, he was Kenyan, and the big thing I remember about Nick was him turning up one January morning. It was his first January in the UK to lectures, and he looked like the Michelin Man, right? And I said, Nick, maybe other guys can relate to this. I said, Nick, are you wearing every single item of clothing that you own? And he went, yes, I am, and I wore it to bed as well, right? So this was it. But what the beautiful thing about Nick, he was 1 year older than me. He'd known Jesus for a bit longer. And he said, Mark, just as a new Christian, I've been a Christian like 5 minutes, literally. And he said, Mark, do you want to meet up and we'll just read the Bible and pray? And he didn't have all the answers, but he knew the significance of just opening the Bible. And he knew the significance of prayer, of just praying together. Folks, you can do that. Honestly, you can. You don't need to know anymore. If you know Jesus, that's enough. If you need help, we've got some great tools like the Discovery Bible Study. It's a great tool to help you. It's so simple, but we just read the Bible with people. So, be invitational. And part of replicating ourselves is doing that bit as well, until they get to a point where they see somebody come to replicate. And at that point, you go, yeah, job done. Now, to help us in this, we need to pray. One of the things we've recognized is that we need to pray more as a church. It's good to pray individually. It's good to pray as life groups. Those are excellent things. But altogether prayer is huge for us. The other sites have got hold of this, by the way. They do it regularly. Long Stratton and Thetford are praying regularly, which is wonderful altogether. We need to do more of this. Are we up for that? Okay, I'm expecting 25 people tonight from that response. That's good. So tonight, what we've done is we've merged something which is really popular, presence, which I know loads of you love to come to, with prayer, something not many people love to come to. We've been sneaky. Nobody leaves after halfway, right? No, so it's going to, we haven't, to be honest with you, there's no structure to it tonight. We haven't got any slides, don't worry. It is purely worship and then praying where God leads us to pray. Got a couple of ideas, but to be honest with you, we'll see where God takes us. Because we need to pray for those people who don't know him yet. We need to pray for this revival that's bubbling under the surface, that it would visit Wymondham in greater measure. We want to see that happen here, right? In greater measure, in more. Okay, I'm going to land there. The last thing I want to do is before I move on and hand back to Ben. Are you doing the prayer tunnel? Am I? I've forgotten already. We both do it. Great. It's collaboration. I just want to give this moment and invite anybody who doesn't know Jesus to know Jesus, because I can't preach on him being invitational without offering an invite to know him. So can we stand together? And I'll just lead us through that, and then we'll move some chairs and do some stuff. So this is the moment when I talk about that discipleship circle, when it says come and see, come and follow, come and imitate, and come and replicate at that model. If you're looking at that and gone, you know what, I've come and seen, but I've never come and followed, then I want to invite you at this moment, if you want to do that this morning. I want to give you the opportunity to come and follow Jesus because he's worth following. And that's as simple as that. It is as simple as saying, Jesus, I want to follow you this morning. So if that's you, I just want to give you a moment to be able to do that. I'm not going to ask you to put your hand up. I'm not going to ask you to do anything. What I would ask you to do is at the end, if you did that, come and find me because I want to pray for you and maybe give you a gift. I'm bribing again. It's great. So this is the moment. I'm just going to give you a moment to say, hey, Jesus, I've seen you, and now I want to follow you. This is your moment just to say that.